G'day everyone, it's TechManPat here. Today we're talking about iOS 14. I have recently installed the developer beta on my phone. I've been using it all day and I wanted to get my first thoughts across because I think it's quite important to sort of note that this is probably one of the biggest changes coming to iOS for a long time, and iOS 13 was a huge departure from iOS 12 in a good way, not bad at all. I'm not saying that, and I want to add that, well, I think we're going to be pretty happy. I think you're all going to be pretty happy about what's coming to iOS 14. So first, let's actually have a look at the website and the preview, and then I'll talk about my experience with each feature so far, and I will put some recordings of my screen on here in a moment too. So this is the page. You can go into this right now to have a bit of a read. There are videos that give you the full look of WWDC, but I'm just going to talk about iOS 14. I actually have the developer preview for my MacBook too, but I haven't had a chance to go through that yet. It's been over an hour installing, but I do also have an Apple Watch to test the Apple Watch 7 version on here. So let's talk about the few biggest things, and we're going to try and scroll through to the main big differences that actually make a difference in your life, and one of those things is the widgets. Now, widgets have been in existence for a long time in basically Android, and I hate saying this, Android's had this since whatever year before Apple does, and Apple never reinvigorated the home screen. They never did, and I always found that very frustrating, how they just kept it at this really generic icons, and you never had an app drawer to sort of hide them away. You'd have all these multiple folders where you'd max them out and just try and put them away. Well, finally, that's changed, but let's talk about the widgets. So you can put a lot of widgets. They're all kind of made by Apple for now, so it's all the generic ones that they have, so stocks, calendar, and weather, which is fine because at a glance I can look at the weather. I don't have to open the weather app. That saves me time, that saves me effort. It also means that your news stories can be on your home screen. You don't have to scroll to the left to go to that open area, but it also means you can have a big clock, as you can see here. So far I've added a calendar view, I've added a time view, and a weather one. So far that's been really good, but the one I really liked is the notes. Tap into the last note you were working on, and it works really well. It's actually very nice to have, but it's not something that made or break iOS. Like, it's not something that people got and all of a sudden that's going to make huge sales for them in iOS. But that's not to say it's not a bad thing. So I'm really happy this has come. The app library. Vala, that's the postman. It's okay. He's fine. He's delivering things. You tell him. Yeah, naughty postman. So, app library. This is the biggest improvement, and I just cannot believe it took so long for Apple to create something like this. Finally, we can hide away all those apps we don't use, but maybe rarely use. They used to say, well, just delete it. Well, no, that's not what people want to do. That's not how reality works. So finally, you can put them in an app drawer. It's really fun to use. I actually find the animations to be absolutely fantastic. I actually find that the way you can search and see them in the ABC lineup, or basically alphabetical, is really nice. This is something that we needed for a long time. Let's take a replay here, how it looks like, so you can see it a little bit better animated. I suppose the idea is that you no longer have to have all those apps and folders, so that's good. That used to be a workaround. Like, when's the last time Apple had a workaround for something they should have had a feature on? Calls. So I use my phone obviously for work a lot. I make a lot of phone calls, and sometimes I'm actually messaging or texting, and having the whole screen just suddenly flash up with a person calling has been distracting. What if I just wanted to finish off that one thing? People call, they do multiple rings, they can wait. So having this is something that Android has had for a while. Finally, Apple has it, whatever. And what it also means that if you are using a phone and it's a large screen, you can potentially answer and continue doing what you're doing, which is great. A feature that should have been in there before. Picture-in-picture, I don't think people are going to be using this. I mean, I've been able to have a call with somebody and browse the phone. If I'm on a call with FaceTime, I think it probably would be nice to sort of continue using the camera. The other person can see me and I can see them. It doesn't happen as often as I've used it, but I think it'll be a good feature. But I don't know if anybody really cares. Let me know in the comments below if having a picture-in-picture when you're having a FaceTime call, remember you're only having a FaceTime call with other Apple users, then is that something you want, that you can browse and sort of not pay attention to the person? I mean, is that something you're doing? I can imagine on an iPad, that would work really, really well. And we'll look at that later on. I've got an iPad that's installing now too, but I have not thought about it before because every time I go and browsing, the camera turns off, but the phone call still stays going. All right, pinned conversations, really love them. I think it's so good to finally not have to look for somebody you speak to often, but then again, if you're speaking often to them, they should sort of be always at the top messaging you. But if you just want to open up messages, get that person really quickly, I think this will help you a lot. I'm very impressed. I'm happy with it. I'm happy. It's great. It's a great addition to make this messaging app a little bit more like a full-featured chat app, because at the moment it's coming from a world of being a text messenger, then it's added the digital messages so you don't have to go through SMS, and now it's moving more and more into this friendly messaging app that's web-based and digital, so you can send photos without having to pay for the SMS cost or the picture cost of an SMS and so on. So it's really good, but remember, it's only with other iPhone users, and that's always a bit of I guess a limitation. And Android has its own version of it, but they also have all these other apps like Signal, and Facebook's got its own. So this is probably going to be competing with Facebook a lot, but the groups feature of it is actually really cool. So if you've got a lot of friends who have iPhones and you all get in a group and chat to us, you can finally reply to individual comments. That's great. I can finally say, hey, reply to this, yes, we're doing that, or no, I don't agree, whatever it is, but to that direct message, and it actually makes sense in the scheme of thing in a conversation. And finally, it's not just a flow of consciousness, it's a little bit of a structure around it. I'm very happy with that. Memojis, I don't know, let me know in the comments below if you guys are interested in that stuff. I never use them. I use memes. Memes for days or GIFs and so on. All right, maps. I cycle a lot. Like, honestly, it's a daily occurrence for me, and I've always had a hard time using even Google Maps, but especially Apple Maps, to navigate through bike paths. Now, Perth has a lot of bike paths. I think even so much more than a lot of other places in Australia, but the south of Perth anyway. And I really like finding new places to cycle. And if I want to go somewhere, I have to do a lot of research to find the best bike paths. I don't like to ride on the road. I prefer not to. I don't trust other drivers around bikes. You know how it is. And so seeing a cycling direction built in through my Apple Watch and the phone together, wow. Okay. Tried it this morning. I had a bit of a ride around the neighborhood, just the paths I know, and I was shocked how well it picked up the directions, and it really kept me on the path. Like, don't get me wrong, it sort of sometimes it goes, take here, and it goes off the road. No, this was smart. So you might not end up in a ditch or an airport like somebody did that I read a little while back when Maps first came out. So this is a great addition because it's also partnering with the exercise regime that Apple Watch wants to sort of push towards. And I'll do a bit of a specific video about the Mac and the Apple Watch separately. I really want to concentrate on the iPhone here. So apart from that, there will be huge improvements to navigation in general, your car navigation. And look, I didn't expect it. When it first came out, I didn't expect it to be like, that bad, but now it's gotten better, and I'm starting to use it more because I use Siri, and Siri navigates straight through Apple Maps. And so far, I've actually used it more than Google Maps. And the only time I use Google Maps is when I'm actually sitting down and planning my route, because before then, if I just need to get somewhere, I just say Siri, and then she does her thing. Very impressive. We get a few more extra things like telling you where to go, maybe some landmarks, and some other bits and pieces. I think it's pretty cool. All right, now Translate. This feature is something I really loved on Google Translate. The ability to have a bit of a conversation back and forth. But the way this one seems to work, it's a lot smoother, and you can flick through the conversation. Now, I'm Polish and my wife's Australian, and we've traveled to Poland a lot, and one of the limitations has been the ability to converse with your elders, your grandparents, and we used Google Translate for a while with my wife trying to sort of speak to my grandparents. It wasn't that great. The conversation wasn't very good. Now, this is still limited to 11 languages at the moment: Arabic, Chinese, English, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Portuguese, Russian, and Spanish. And until it's Polish, I won't be able to really test it very well and give you like a straight opinion. I'm fluent in both English and Polish, so this just give me a really good example. I might even try to converse with myself and see how it comes out. Siri is getting a bit of an improvement. Now, Siri's been a bit of a pain for a while. Overall though, Siri has been very useful for me when I'm driving car, so hands-free, when I'm actually asking about time, when I'm actually asking about a calendar event, or creating a calendar event, or creating alarms. I haven't gone as far as to, hey, suggest something for me or anything like that. So the way they've implemented here with Siri, as long as there are improvements in capturing your voice and the way you speak, I think it'll be better. I've had a few issues with Siri in the past with the HomePod, and so it didn't catch me, but my phone seems fine, so that's, you know, a bit different. And my wife, who isn't necessarily a techie, uses Siri quite a lot. So I'm hoping that it's improved, it's quicker and better. 20 times more facts. Okay, so what? I'm not really asking Siri to do facts, but I want Siri to do things for me and make my life easier without having to re-explain myself, and meaning that whatever I do on the phone is quicker. So sending audio messages, obviously it's been possible, but having Siri do it is pretty cool. One of the distracting things when you're trying to dictate a message is actually looking over the words, that if they're correct. So sending a voice message via Siri while hands-free in a car, I think is a really great benefit. And I tested it today, caught my voice, did it well, and I think that's probably what I'm going to be using now in the car, because I don't want to look away from the road to try and make sure that they've captured the right words. Maybe I've said it wrong. No, it's better to ask Siri to do it. Now, one thing that's coming in iOS 14 for home is actual facial recognition. So if you take pictures of people and they come to your door, it'll actually hopefully recognize who it is. And that's very interesting. You basically have your own inbuilt facial recognition security system. And I guess it depends on what applications or what Apple devices are getting used. But because Signal goes through to home, it's Apple that takes care of the recognition, and I think that's pretty good. Unlock your car and start your car with iPhone. That's something that is probably very rare to people. The first car is going to be the BMW 540i, and you can start your car, you can share that key with a person and let them turn on the car. Works for up to 5 hours even after iPhone battery runs out. That's huge. That's pretty huge. The NFC chip in there obviously must go up, work near it, so that's pretty good. So even if your phone dies, you'll still be connected to it. AirPods. Now, I do have AirPods, and unfortunately, these AirPods will not work with this feature, the surround side feature. But what it is going to do, and this is for the AirPods Pro, it's going to give you the surround sound effect that many headphones, like for example this Logitech one here, the 7.1, can actually do already out of the box. So it's kind of like it's fake. It's a surround sound fakeness, so it changes the frequencies, it changes the timings, so you can hear it from different directions. And so is that going to really improve your sound experience? Probably not for music, unless it's a specific song where it's got like enough spatial awareness for it. So some songs do come with the ability to have surround, so it's a higher type file. Depends on the streaming services, I suppose. It depends on what it is. But movies, and I was gonna say games, but you don't really play games on it. So movie-wise, if you've got something like a HD 4K something from Netflix and it has surround sound options, and you have Apple Air Pros, then finally you'll be able to get nice surround sound. And 7.1 surround sound, as much as it's fake and it's software generated and digitally re-rendered or whatever you want to call it, it actually sounds really, really good. It actually does. So I highly recommend that you guys check it out if you get the chance to do so. Finally, the other thing that they talked about is automatic switching. So if I just scroll down here, it's been a pain to go from my laptop to my phone when maybe I have a meeting on my laptop and I just got off a phone call to switch to that device. I think I actually thought it already does that because I kind of did it by just pressing, so it was kind of working, but finally it's going to be automated. So basically, if you move off to your iPad, your Apple phone, or your device, it'll automatically switch over to whichever one you are using. Finally, that is the beauty of being in the Apple ecosystem. I cannot say it enough. That is literally the benefit of being in an Apple ecosystem. And everything else is a bit of a bane of its existence, but things like this is where it really shines and why you sort of go, man, yeah, that's maybe why Apple locks it all down. Maybe that's why they're so expensive. This is one of those reasons. Privacy. Privacy has been on the forefront of Apple. They want to differentiate themselves from Google and the Android ecosystem, where Google just sort of takes everything you do out in the world and sell it to advertisers. This time around, finally, when you load an app, you'll get to see this little screen right here. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You get to see, here we go. You get to actually see what data is used to track you and what data is linked to you to identify you. This is amazing. I don't think it's underestimated how good it is to be as clear as possible and explain to somebody what this app does. Now, finally, apps will not be able to get away with hiding things in the background and taking your, I don't know, contact information or location. You will know, and you will be able to decide, giving you the decision and the option to install the application or not. Great. I'm so happy with that. Now, second to that privacy is the ability to see a little icon if a device is using your microphone or your camera. This is very interesting. It's not something I've thought about, but imagine you're using an app that doesn't actually show you that it's recording your voice or your phone's camera, the front or back, and you're just, I don't know, chatting away, watching a video, and it's using your camera. This will tell you if it's happening. And again, privacy in this day and age, that's a luxury item. And that's why this product, Apple, is luxury. And that's really it. That's the major stuff. All the other things are little changes, and I'll do a more shorthand video about the things I really like and don't like in the new iOS 14. I want to say this comes for iPhone 11 Pro, XS, XR, 8, 8 Plus, 7, 6S Plus, 6S, SE first generation, and SE second generation, and iPod Touch 7th generation. So it does go back quite a lot, and that's really something that Apple does really well. They maintain an upgrade path for much older devices, which is something you just cannot say for Android. 2 years max? 3 on a Pixel maybe? What, 6S is going 7 years, I think? When was the iPhone 6S come out? iPhone 6S release date. 5 years. 5 years. That's how far back they support it. Friends, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed just chatting away with me and looking at some of these new features and seeing them run on the phone. Also, if you would like to see more, please consider subscribing. If you like this video, then tap that like button and let us know in the comments below what you guys think about the new features of iOS 14. At the moment, it's only available to developers. I have a developer account, that's how I was able to get it so quick, and I wanted to share this with you as quickly as possible. So apologize for the janky production, but we'll catch you all in another video. Thank you very much. Bye.